your program? Could your program survive 2 weeks without you? Not the infrastructure, you personally. If the answer is no, you're not running an operation. You're a single point of failure with the job title. This is Agentic AI execution. No framework, no hives, just real calls from people shipping AI system under pressure. Today our guest is Ankur Gupta, Senior Staff TPM, leading AI infrastructure at LinkedIn. Before this, he also worked at Walmart, where he helped save millions of dollars building internal infrastructure platform from scratch. And he said something I can't stop thinking about. AI is not taking the job, but person sitting next to you might. But here's what actually struck me. Most TPMs think their job is absorbing ambiguity for everyone else. Ankur is arguing something different. Once agent can do the coordinating, the only thing that actually matters is judgment. Nobody can handle. Let's get into it. Ankur, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Nina. Excited to be here and looking forward to all the conversation.
I'd like to start with your part to senior staff TPM in LinkedIn. What does agentic AI execution means on a day-to-day basis at LinkedIn? How do you approach your role?
So, about my background, I started my career much closer to software engineering. I started as a software engineer and then I moved into SAP where I worked on some enterprise platforms and I led one of the cloud modernization initiatives at Walmart. And along the line, like many of the TPMs, I switched into program management. And at LinkedIn today, my work expanded into reliability engineering, capacity engineering, data center infrastructure, and now I'm working in AI infrastructure. So the common thread, if you say, was like I kept gravitating towards the problems where no single team owned the entire outcome, right? And there were a lot of teams. And as a software engineer, I really enjoyed coding as well. But along the line, somewhere I felt that my personality is better suited in program leadership. And there was a quite a good amount of time where I sat down and inquired within myself, like, do I want to be a program manager? Do I want to be a product manager or engineering manager? All three were literally lucrative to me. And after a lot of analysis and looking at myself and my work that I have been doing, I finally landed on program management at that point in my career. So that's how I moved. I think your next question was like, what does agentic AI execution mean for a TPM at LinkedIn? I think it might not be very LinkedIn specific. It's more of the way I see it. I think you're asking between product and infra, right? I'm part of infra team. For product, I think let's take an example. Let's say you have a product team, and maybe you can take a LinkedIn example here. Imagine you are building a job search or job matching agentic framework where agents can interpret product requirements, they can compare existing features, and they can suggest new features to you. They can run customer surveys on your behalf. They can also look through like what APIs will be impacted, UI components that we need to change. These agents can help you create implementation plan, help you with implementation, of course, like all the coding behind the scene. They can modify the test cases, run the test scenarios back and forth, help you with the product launch like Canary, testing, launch, ramp up like 0 to all the way to 100%. And they can help you with monitoring also. So if you look at the whole stack, right, everything in the stack is automatable. Through this agentic framework, you can have very, very specific agents doing those things for you. And of course, you're still sitting in the judgment seat, but these agents can perform those actions for you.
I'm curious, when those agents are performing, what is the role of TPM? How does TPM help drive those automation?
So TPM is still working with the teams, right? The value that TPM brings is the organizational structure, influence, and moving the program ahead. Some agents might be developed by the TPM, him or herself, to run the program itself, to track the status of the program, to measure the risk, how we are performing, to create dashboards, to collect status reports from different parties who are working on your program, to create comprehensive reports. So those are the agentic workflows TPM can themselves create to simplify their job. But at the same time, TPM plays a much bigger role, right? It's not only that status update and reporting and whatnot, right? That's only one part of the job. And I think it's a smaller part of the job. The bigger part of a TPM job is that reducing that ambiguity into the program. We are only needed when the programs are large and complex. That's the whole role, right? And the reason we are needed in the room is because we spend time reducing that ambiguity, not for ourselves, but for everyone. When we are brought into a program, most of the times the program is not even well defined. We just know, hey, this is what we want to achieve. Right now, how do you get there? Somebody needs to sit down, think through the whole pipeline, right? Think through how we can execute, think through there are 10 different teams you have to work through. How are you going to engage them? Like, what are their timelines look like? What are they working on? And what is this program trying to achieve that benefit them, or why would they even work on this program, right? So all those things are ambiguity in the beginning. So we take step-by-step approach to reduce that ambiguity. And along the way, we learn ourselves, okay, this is probably what this program means. And maybe this is the way I'm going to design a metric, how I'm going to measure this program. This is the reason this program is very important to this company. And this is the reason my teams who are going to work on this program can tie their ideas that why working on this program is actually great for them. They're going to have a good time working on it. They will learn something from it. Plus, they're part of the bigger picture, the company goal, the mission, the vision. So all of that, the TPM helps bring that. And then once the teams are defined, you have commitment, then you go through the execution phase. Then you start working towards that goal. So all of this packaged together is the TPM job. And then execution, monitoring, and that's the run cycle we go through when the program is in motion.
And when you are executing those programs in this era where there are so many agents getting created, what are some of the operational challenges, or what are the things which are keeping you up at night in your role?
So operational challenges is always getting alignment, solving the problems where teams are stuck, right? Those are the things that TPMs help with the most, or TPM should help with the most if you're not. The I won't say they're keeping me up at night, but those are the things I think are the operational challenge. You might be working. So I'll take an example of a large program I was leading. It involved 200 teams. So how do you work with 200 teams? Like, nobody has time to go talk to 200 teams. And if you are doing that, you're just wasting your time and their time and whatnot. So you have to come up with the frameworks, right, to solve a problem that you still want all those teams to work on your program. They don't even know you. And probably most of them should never even meet you, because that's a time you can save for them and yourself. But still, you want to achieve a goal. Then how do you define a program that they can still feel they are part of? They understand the goal and objective and whatnot. And then at the same time, you are able to drive it with the same compassion and making sure everybody understands. So those are the kind of operational challenges or execution challenges or even definition challenges that can come. On day-to-day basis, information is scattered in all the companies, right? And a lot of AI tools are helping now to package that information and make it accessible for you. That's another information challenge. With AI especially, things are moving so fast that you have to spend a lot of time to keep information centralized. I'm a very, very, very big believer into a phrase I always say: information centralization and work decentralization. So that's the whole goal. When I operate on a program, I try to implement that strategy from day one. Like, how quickly I can centralize information for them, for the people who are working. Is there a center place they can go and understand the program? Is there a common language of a metric that they can speak? Okay, this is how this program is being measured. Is there a common place they can understand what are the work streams? Who is owning what work stream? If something is stuck, who has the power to make a decision? Who can unblock? How are we reporting status? All those things are like a structure that you help provide to the program. And then, of course, on day-to-day basis, you have misalignment. So you step in, you resolve, you have roadblock. If there are technical challenges that can delay your timeline, all those are challenges that we see on day-to-day basis. And then we adapt on the fly. We bring the right people in. We broker the right conversation. We have the right expert in the room to design a particular technical challenge. All those things are small things. There is not a simple list. It's just like you have to wear different hats, understand the problem, jump in, try to solve it on the fly with the right people in the room.
Very well said. And I especially remember somebody mentioned where you don't realize the value of TPM until TPM is not in the program. Then you know how many hats were missing.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. A good TPM's value can be measured in gold, but a bad TPM value again is can be just like overhead for the program. So it goes both ways. A good TPM can help simplify things, actually bring value to the table. And that's the thing engineering managers, software engineers, VPs who are working with you, they look for, right? If you can be that person who can actually bring value, not just take status updates, not just, ping people, hey, what's going on? Where are you? So those things are also part of the job. But the question is, what are you bringing to the table, right? So you need to have those TPM skills. That's the main job, not just like collecting status updates from people.
You are speaking at PMI on Friday. I'm curious, what's your message? What you are arguing for?
We did this talk last Friday. I had a great time sharing my knowledge and learning from such a diverse group from Bay Area. My talk was really about like how AI is giving program managers an opportunity. I see this as an opportunity for program managers to move beyond coordination and become those strategic technology leader. The title of the talk was AI Era PM Becoming a Strategic Technology Leader. So the talk was really about how AI is giving program managers a chance to spend less time on coordination and more on leadership. AI can already help us write status updates, summarize meetings, track action items, review plans, spot any missing critical dependencies or decisions. Tasks used to take up a big chunk of the time in our week. Now, these are all automatable, right? And like I said in the beginning of our chat as well, like they were never the most valuable part of the job anyway. So if that's not the job, then what's the job, right? So the talk was focused around that area. And the way I am presenting it is that list was never the full job. It was the slice that you had time for. The real job is helping teams make difficult decisions, bringing people together when they disagree, understanding trade offs, right? And making sure you are creating clarity along the way when things are messy, not for yourself, but every person who is working on the program. In fact, talking in this channel with PMI San Francisco Bay Area, it improved my own sharpness for this. The whole idea that TPM is not like simply a faster coordinator. You can use AI and you can use AI to save time on your coordination skills and execution and status reporting. But after getting that time back, you cannot invest the same time in the same kind of job. You need to use that time and invest better and create more room for judgment and ambiguity and problem solving. So that will help make this role become more and more important and bringing more value back to the table. And when you're problem solving and you see, like, say, a dependency is on a file or something unknown has a problem, how do you deal with it? What is your first step? Is it a conflict or is it actually a technical challenge? The solution again will depend on that. But again, first time, the moment you have a problem is first thing is to understand the problem. What is the problem? Why are we thinking this is a problem? Do we really want a solution, or no solution is also okay, right? So you have to start asking all those small nitty-gritty question. Who is the right person who can help me understand the problem? Who has the authority to make a decision at the end of the day? And if are there any conflicts that people are dealing with? So the first thing is, again, if you have a problem, like remove the ambiguity around it. Like, what does it mean? What we are trying to solve? How soon we need to make a decision? Who has the power and whatnot? Once you have that framework in place, then you find the right people who will work on it. And if you need to be there in the room, you step into the room, you broker the conversation, you mediate and try to take it to the resolution. So yeah, it all depends on the type of problem and then taking it from there. Your 2-week post landed hard. I'm curious if the program, when you come back, is on fire. You build a dependency on yourself, not a system. What's the actual first move for someone who is currently the operating system to start building the real one? Yeah, I think you're talking about the post I had on LinkedIn where I wrote an article about the TPM operating system behind large scale executions. So, yeah, I think the idea there was I was just saying, can you take 2 weeks off? Like, let's say you're a TPM on a program and you take 2 weeks off. When you come back, is the program still the same? Is it on fire? Like, what's going on? Do you have trust? It will still be running. So that was basically the framework that I was trying to create. Now, as I said earlier in the chat, right, I'm a big believer in centralizing information and decentralizing work. This framework is also around the same idea. In simple terms, right, take everything that currently lives in your head and put it in one place where everyone can find it. What is this program trying to achieve? What are the work streams? Who owns each one? This is the same thing that we chatted about earlier, right? Whatever you own, can there be a central place where people can find this information? It could be a dashboard, it could be a Google Sheet or simple internal page, but the tool doesn't matter here, right? The point is, can people find the information about this program in one place, which is universally known to everyone who's working on this program? Now, what matters is that everyone knows where to go and understand without coming to you, because you don't want to be that single point of failure or that critical point where everyone is coming to you. I learned this while running this company-wide reliability program, like I said earlier, in where I was helping move 200 plus team. And like I said, right, there was no way I could meet every team, collect 200 status updates and manually turn them into leadership report. So I would have become biggest bottleneck in this program if I were to do that. So I took that work and not naturally convert into a numerical metric and created a simple like metric that every team could update, that gave us one central dashboard where teams and leaders could quickly see whether the program was moving, which teams were making progress, and where the help was needed. I also created it. It actually also helped created a healthy peer pressure between teams, because every team could see how others were progressing. And that's where I think a real TPM judgment comes in. AI can help you build dashboards or summarize the data, but it cannot decide the right metric for you. You have to understand the work deeply enough to decide what progress actually means. And once that system was running, teams knew that what they owned and kept moving without waiting for me. So if I stepped away for 2 weeks, might have missed to broker a couple conversation, to unblock a couple of issues, but the program would not stop. That's the 2 week test. I say, like, can you step out for 2 weeks, and when you come back, your program is still running and it's not on fire. And you should add that value to the program, because you should not be the single point of failure in that program. So that's the whole thing. And I wrote up actually an article about this, like I said, right? The operating system. Of course, it has many more things in place. It's a complete framework. So if you're a TPM interested in learning how do I set up such a program, I can share that operating system, how it is built and what brings it together.
Could you pull that one-page checklist and walk us through live?
This is basically where I write about technical program management and system engineering. And I think this is the post that I made. I got a lot of likes and comments on this one. So yeah, this is the TPM operating system that I was talking about. Let me scroll down to the diagram and maybe zoom in a little bit. Okay, so let me start. So basically, first let me explain you how to read this page, right? There are really two ideas here. Let me start with the first one. This is this diagram. These three lenses at top tells us, right, what to look at when we are running a program. The first lens is operational, right? What are we doing? When do we need it? And how will we measure the progress? The second is the collaboration, right? Who owns it? Which teams are going to work on it? What are the dependencies? Who will make the decisions and whatnot? And the third is the technical lens. What are we actually building? Do we really need to build it? Will it be reliable, safe, secure, usable? Does anybody care about it? So, and how will we operate it once it's already built? So you have to look at your program through all three lenses throughout its life cycle. And some of these things might apply to your programs, some might not. This is not a complete list. I still add things myself to this list every once in a while. And over a period of time, you might forget to do some of these things. That's why I have a checklist, because as the programs progress, you get so busy in doing a particular thing that you might forget, hey, am I taking care of the processes? Am I improving processes along the way? Am I mentoring people? Am I setting up a right environment where like people are aligned or like the goals are still? So you might have done some of it in the beginning, but you might have forgotten along the way. So the idea is that over time, you naturally start paying more attention to one area over another, and you will get busy, and if you want to check back, hey, am I doing everything still good? So you come back, look at the list, and that can give you an idea where do you want to focus next. So I use this as a checklist that helps me step outside and come back with a fresh perspective. Now, let's go to the next diagram. This is set one run forever checklist. So on the left-hand side are what I call set one's items. And these are the big things that you put in place when you start the program. First, you connect the program to the company vision, goal, mission. It is extremely important to have a very, very clear reason for why are you doing the program. And you shouldn't do a program just because a director told you, hey, we want to do this, right? You need to understand why, right? People all the time will define we want to do this, and many times you need to brainstorm with them, and maybe it's just you not understanding the problem, but until you do, don't take the program. Take a pause, help understand why you're taking this program, because if you don't understand, how do you expect all the people who are gonna come after you to help you with this program? So it is very, very important that you yourself understand. And the reason why I say that, right, because it's your job afterwards to pass on that knowledge to other. When people understand how their work connects to the bigger company goal, you don't have to constantly push or motivate them. I'm optimistic, believe most people are trying to do their best job when they are coming to work every day. If you can just show them why the work they're doing it matters, why their contribution matters, you often will see passion come out naturally from everyone who is working, and that is the anchor for your program. So it is very important to get it right. And then going forward, then you make sure you have a strong business case, and if you need funding, the funding comes in, and then you define the scope, the metric, and what done means to everyone. And that's
And
the
how do you balance between like what TPM does versus what product does? Like why definition, particularly what you were talking about?
So product has a very specific role, right? Product is there to help understand what are we building, right? And why we are building. It's our job to just understand it and pass it on to all the people who are engaged. From TPM standpoint, we help move things forward. But like I said, it's still very, very important for us to understand why we are building. And that's where the product comes in. They help anchor the program. And depending on the type of program you're working on, right? Not all programs have a product team. I work in infra. We don't have product organization here. We might have some product managers here and there, but for most part, we don't have product. We wear that hat as well, where we act as a TPM and the product manager as well. So yeah, product helps you decide what and why. We help with the execution engine. We help align the teams. We give every works team a clear owner. We map the important dependencies and timelines, and we set the guardrails, who makes the decision, when, what risk, how it will be handled. And then we set up those meeting rhythms to make sure like we get the information, but we are not overburdening everyone with too many meetings and whatnot. So that's the left-hand side I was talking about, that helps you set one. These are the big ones. It doesn't mean that you just set it once and never touch it again. It means that you just basically build a structure. The major structure is in place and you continue to improve it later on, but it can come at a slow pace. The right side is always moves on. This is the monitoring the progress. You look for the risk before they become problems. You keep dependencies moving all along the way. You improve processes, automate repeatable work. And that's where AI can come in and help with all of that stuff. So simplest way to remember this page is left hand side gives you strong foundation and the right hand side keeps it alive. That's the lens basically combined together with the top list, and this is the framework. That's the operating system I was talking about.
And what do you do differently in this framework when you are doing it versus you are going to hand it off to somebody else, another TPM or the team to execute it going forward?
Okay. Honestly, I think on day one, I would not design any program differently. Even if I know that this is not my program, I'm just temporarily taking it and I will hand it over to someone later. I would build that program exactly the same way with the same standard, right? The program, like I said, should never depend on the information that existed in my head, right? So the basic setup remains the same. The purpose, scope, outcome, metric, owner, dependency, decisions, right? That's the central core. It should stay same. It should have no ambiguity. Program should be able to run through that system, not through my personal memory or my personal involvement. The difference, in case I'm planning to hand off a program, I know, right? I've been asked to set it up and then somebody else can take it from there. And then I would try to make the transition part more deliberate. I would identify the new owner as soon as possible, bring them into all important meetings and decisions, make sure they understand not only the processes that I have set up, but why I design those processes and the way I design those processes. I would probably have to observe them, like have them observe the program while I'm running it, and then like maybe in the shadow mode, and then finally they operate, I shadow kind of. And a good handoff is not like where you are sending someone a large document on your final day, right? It's gradual. You need to transfer the context. You have to transfer the relationship also, right? You need to help them meet the team, help them understand who is playing what role, and the decision making, and while the program is still running and while you're still there. So irrespective of if I have the program to myself or if I have to hand it off later, I would just follow the same, right? The basic core stay the same, then have a clear transition plan.
As agents get more capable, is the system just increasingly doing coordination work, or what should never get handed to an agent?
So honestly, right, agents are doing a lot of good stuff nowadays, right? They are helping automate bunch of things, right? Drafting an update, creating a dashboard, following up with the teams, flagging a risk, right? All of those things are repetitive, used to eat a lot of time, and AI can do it for you. Like at 2 a.m., without getting tired, without asking for a promotion or a raise, right? They it can do it for you. But there is a still a hard line that agents cannot cross today. I don't know about future, but today, and that line is judgment and accountability, right? It cannot replace the organizational influence you have. It cannot read the room for you. It cannot spend that political capital or use the trust that you have built a VP with a VP over last 15 months. It cannot tell that two teams are arguing like that, are arguing about a technical decision, but the real issue is actually lack of trust from something that happened 6 months ago about the decisions TPM make every day, right? Which risk is worth escalating and which one can still wait, right? Not every risk does need an escalation or even reporting. Should we hold the launch or should we do another round of testing? How do you tell a VP something that they don't want to hear? Agent is going to just still spit out everything that it wants to. It doesn't know the nuances of relationship and trust and judgment and accountability. How do you handle a room where two teams are quietly working against each other? These are not information problem. They are like, again, judgment and trust. An agent can tell me that the program is red. It cannot decide whether this red is acceptable this week or should we escalate now, or whether I am willing to take responsibility for waiting, right? And it definitely cannot take the heat for that decision later on when I was wrong and I should have escalated that red right away. So in simple rule, right, give agents the status, but keep the judgment to yourself.
That's wonderful. Keep the judgment to yourself. A judgment cannot be outsourced to the agent. Your influence framework is about lowering the cost to say yes. When agents are shipping code, are you still persuading humans to do or negotiating with, or also negotiating what you let an agent decide on its own?
I think we are still pursuing humans for sure. And I think we'll keep doing it for a long time because humans still own the goals, they still own the resources and ultimately the accountability, right? But there is definitely a second conversation, which is how much of authority are we comfortable giving to the agent, right? And I don't think we are negotiating with the agent. We are negotiating still with humans about what boundaries you want to put it and how much you want to do. So the cost of saying yes is basically the framework. And I think this is from another post that I had, like, leading with authority, where the operating system of a technical program manager, basically, how do you make it easy for people to say yes to you, to work with you? And it comes from basically 5, 6 different ideas, right? You start with building a credibility about yourself. You lead with data, not with assumptions or opinions, right? You align teams before you asking them to work. You do the work yourself as well, and you reduce the option cost for them, and you know your audience. So that's the basic framework. So basically the framework still stays here. You lower the cost of yes by making, in terms of agent, you can make the adoption smaller, safer, and reversible. Maybe the agent starts reading logs, drafting code for you, writing test cases, open up a pull request. Everything is visible, right? You have to make it at that level. But let's say in the beginning, humans still review the chain. Once the agent proves over a period of time, periodically, that it can perform those tasks reliably, like, you can gradually give it more freedom. The boundary should depend on the impact of the decision. If the action is a low key, it's easy to reverse. The agent can probably handle its own. But it can affect production, customer data, security, major infrastructure capacity, something that is very difficult to undo. Then a human should still approve it. So I think influencing humans remains major part of TPM role. But now we also have to help teams agree on what agents can do and be realistic about it, right? It's not like we can wait off these agents for very long. What can and should be given to agents? What we should still hold? What are the boundaries we want to set? And what are where human involvement is still needed? So for now, I would say humans still set the boundaries, but they still own the outcome because the agents are still deployed by them.
I've heard like agents have started negotiating contracts.
I think, yeah, definitely. Even at LinkedIn, we have products where agents are making a lot of first moves and working with the customers and whatnot. This is going to come a lot faster in the service industry, actually. Even you can think about when you call someone, your doctor's office or anyway, right? They have agents now. They're actually negotiating maybe the schedule with you, right? Like, oh, can you come on this date? No, this doesn't work for me. What about this? So they're not very much away from this price negotiation. They're also working in a boundary, right? In terms of schedule, it's a 9 to 5 boundary. And similarly, in terms of tech and sales, it is still a boundary, right? You provide the guardrails like, hey, you cannot sell this over $2,000 or like you cannot go under this. You still have to think about, you cannot sell the company secrets and whatnot, right? So you have to set the boundaries and then the agents can execute on their own.
Awesome. What changes you see about TPM accountability when you did the full audit? Who verifies and who should never ship unreviewed changes?
So I think accountability becomes very important now, right? As the agents are involved, an agent can take an action, but it's not going to be there when the time for consequences comes in, right? A human or team will still own that accountability for the outcome. And as a TPM, the TPM should not personally review every line of code. They don't do it today. They should not do it in future either, right? Every action that agent takes either, right? The TPM role is to make sure the right system for verification exists. It could be a human, it could be a system. So the system, that's what our job is, to make sure the system exists and the execution happen. Who is the technical owner? What test must pass? What evidence must an agent produce? Who approves the change, right? How will we detect there is a problem? How do we take a rollback? So all of that is a system, right? With agents coming in, the system needs to be enhanced. And if the agent is in the driver's seat to change, then automated testers, security checks, policy checks should run before anything even move forward, right? Because now the risk is much, much higher. Then the appropriate engineer, security person, domain expert should review those high risk decisions. Again, it goes back to managing the risk. If it is a low risk change, reversible change, automated checks maybe eventually be enough once agent has proven itself over a period of time. But as the impact goes up, human review should go up with it. So the agent may do the work for you, but accountability remains with the named human owner. The TPM's role here is just to ensure the ownership and the review process is very clear.
Awesome. I'd like to switch gears and switch into governance and reliability at scale. You recently talked in the business panel where you talked about enabling innovation while addressing AI misuse. What does guardrail without slowing shipping actually looks like on real team?
On Z Business panel, we were actually discussing the governance. The topic at hand was right in India. What happened in one of the court proceedings, the judge found that the lawyer was giving evidence of a case that never happened. So they were just citing a case that never happened. So they sent a clear message to the rest of the judiciary and they sent a statement like that, hey, we need to have some AI governance and whatnot. So I was on that panel to talk about it because there is a growing concern across the industry how to protect the society from the misuse. I am a firm believer that strong governance can actually help AI adoption. It forces us, right, to think early about what can go wrong and how will we handle it if it goes wrong. Without that pressure, companies may focus only on what AI can do. Think about like misuse only after something has gone wrong. Good governance will give industry more stability, just like Bitcoin and all these, right? If you put governance in place, it helps actually people adopt things faster. Same is going to happen with AI with confidence. So different regions have taken different approaches, right? US, UK, they are all doing it differently. And the same challenge, not only on the governance side of the country, it happens inside the companies as well. Companies want their employees to use AI and adapt as fast as possible, start shipping code, become more productive. But at the same time, they understand that misuse can seriously harm the product, the company, the employee, the reputation, the customer, right? I'm a firm believer, like I said, that when you have to choose between a recommendation and implementation should be your answer. You can tell your employees, please don't upload sensitive information. Hey, don't use unapproved tools. Follow these guidelines. Then you just cross your finger and hope everybody remembers that rule. But that's not enough, right? Security and governance teams need to build those policy into companies' systems technically, that even accidentally employees cannot move in that direction that could harm the company. So that is what guardrails without slowing the shipping means to me, right? It's great to move fast, but moving fast on a paved road is much better, right? The safe path should also be easiest and fastest. That means like you should be using the approved AI tools in the company. If somebody is not using, the company must block that access. It should not only be a recommendation. You have to build security policies directly into the system. Restrict any unapproved tool where the usage can cause a harm, right? You cannot expect every employee to remember all the AI policy every time they use AI. So same principle applies to agent. You can control what data gets access to the agent, what tools it uses, what boundaries it needs to operate under, but humans should own that agent now and the actions that have been taken by the agent at the end of the day. That's what I would say overall on the governance side.
I'm curious, you also gave a talk at Budapest talk about reliability, visible failures, clear ownership, incident becoming prevention. Does that hold up when part of infrastructure is non-deterministic agent instead of deterministic code?
That's a very loaded question. Let me first explain what non-deterministic means for someone who's listening, right? Traditionally, software is very predictable. You give it some input, it has a code, it runs, and under the same condition, you expect it to produce the same result every single time. But AI agents, they're not the same, right? They are different. We all use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, right? You ask the same question to the same agent again, you will find a very different answer. You can give it the same goal 2 times and it can create a totally different path, use totally different tools, totally different approach to complete that work. It might complete the work the same way how you wanted it, but the approach, the execution might totally be different. So think of traditional software like a train, right? It runs on a fixed track. So reliability here will mean making sure that train always runs on the track. It doesn't run on the road. AI agent, think of it more like a driver. You give the driver just like destination, just like sitting on a Waymo. But the driver here may choose whether it wants to go by water or bus or car or just simply walk, depending on the traffic. You cannot choose the path. So that's what non-deterministic mean here. This does not mean the driver is unreliable. It just means that we have to define reliability definition differently. We may not require the agent to take exact same route every time, but we still want it to reach the correct destination, follow the rules that I have set up, stay within the boundary, and ask for help when it's unsure. The ownership, again, still has to be clear. We cannot say the agent made the decision. Every agent needs a human or a team because it needs its own behavior, its permission, and its outcome. And what we can learn from my Budapest talk was, right, incident. I was working on a program where we were trying to improve the reliability of our model deployment platform. And what we did is we used every incident to help us make a prevention. With traditional code, like we fix bugs and then we add a test. But with agents, we may add a failure to our evals, improve his instructions, limits his permission, add a new check, or require human approval, depending on the type of action. So the goal is still the same. Once we learn from a failure, the system should become safer. So, and again, depending on the problem, you may also have to control how much agent can impact in this area. With agents, reliability is about giving them controlled freedom in a way, right? If you think about it, you want to control them, but you also want to give them freedom to choose their path while keeping their actions visible, so you can at least backtrace it, understand, learn from it, keep their impact limited, and only expand the blast radius as you go along, and have the clear ownership and the person responsible to manage that agent be responsible for its action.
What should a TPM do in next year to stay relevant with agentic AI, how it's reshaping the execution?
So, yeah, that's a good question. I think 2 things, I would say one technical and another human. So first is again technical literacy, and this one has nothing to do with AI. It has always been true. The more domain expert or domain literate you are, the more higher you will be able to perform your role, the more you're able to grow in your career. And you don't need to understand how agents work or how that model is built or where they break and what they cost and whatnot. But You should just understand how they are used and how teams are operating with them. How does it impact you as a TPM? Because you cannot lead a team without understanding that part. And that's more true every month as we go, right? Literally day by day, it's changing. So if I have to pick one, start with technical fluency, understand the agents, understand how AI is changing the landscape. And the second one that we discussed earlier in the call, right? The more important part of the role is that people usually forget and underrate is the things that AI can't do. The reason why we are in the room. As agents will eat the coordination, your value almost entirely goes to the judgment, influence, and the taste. Which problem is worth solving? Getting humans aligned when they don't report to you, making that hard call upon it. So practically start using these tools for your own work, automate your own status report, automate your busy work. The TPM, I think, who will thrive won't be the ones who fear the agents and say, oh, what, I don't know what's going on. This AI is just going to take my job. All of that is unnecessary anxiety, I would say. But it is true that you need to adapt to it. These agents are already here. These AI tools are here as a friend. We should leverage them to improve our productivity and then trust them to help execute your work for you. And then you keep that bigger piece of judgment that it can't replace for you. So if you combine those two things together, then you still have a seat at the table and you are bringing the best value. Maybe other people are not.
One prediction, what do you think senior staff TPM will evolve in years from now?
Well, that's an impossible question almost. The AI landscape is changing so fast that it's hard to predict even 6 months out. But if I have to take a stab, right, a year or 2 years from now, I think a lot of things that we do today might be automated, right? Agents will already be reading meeting trackers. Like you might not have to create tracker, or maybe you just create one in beginning, but it's just there. Amazing tracker with all the visibility, code changes, decision log, like literally a live picture of your program. They will flag what is drifting where and dependencies that are slipping, what decision needs your attention, by when you need to do this and whatnot. So goes back to same, right? TPM will spend less time creating reports and more on decision. But one thing I hinted earlier, right? I think it's also the product judgment that will become very basic expectation from a TPM. It will not be enough to ask, like, are we delivering on time? But we will also be responsible for answering, are we solving the right problem? Is it still worth building? What trade-offs that are required that will create the most value? We have already seen this, right, in software engineering and product management as we are moving closer together. Some are describing the role as like product builder, where it's kind of merging product management and software engineering. We might see, I won't be surprised if we see similar across TPM function, TPM, product management, engineering leadership. These are all leadership kind of roles. I don't know if those roles will fully merge, but I do expect fewer handoffs between these roles and broader expectation from a single person. So the senior staff or senior, right? It's not about the role or the title, but it's more about as a TPM, what will be the expectation? I think, again, the expectations from us will evolve into much more than that we deliver today. If we are again at the cutting edge of our role, we will be making product decision, making business decision, aligning with the leader, setting up the boundaries for the agents. Again, of course, managing all that agentic framework and the reporting, that will still be there, but we will evolve more into the shared program intelligence for both people and the agents.
And how are you keeping yourself up to date with all the agentic AI stuff?
Yeah, honestly, that's a little bit difficult, right? All have our day-to-day job and we are busy and whatnot. But there are two ways I learn, right? One is luckily I'm part of AI infrastructure, so I am in the first row. I'm seeing things at the first hand, how AI landscape is evolving. Of course, I'm not building the models. That's the product engineering side at LinkedIn. But I'm in the infrastructure side, so I do still see a lot of AI platform, how they are building and whatnot. So I'm learning on ground, literally the exact platforms that are required to run AI at scale. That's at the work. And of course, I'm adapting. I have my own agents and skills and whatnot. I have built my workflows. So all of that good stuff is there. The last piece I would say is anybody who wants to learn AI, you cannot learn it very well through a crash course or taking a learning course or whatnot. It is very, very hands-on. You have to, like, of course, you can start with a course, but you have to put your fingers on your keyboard and start typing in that terminal or whatever platform you're using, because until you do that, you will not understand how it can help you. And the more you start using it, the more you will understand, or you yourself will invent ideas how you can use it better. And you will understand how prompt engineering works and how you can mold things, what things it can do for you. And sometimes I surprise myself, like sometimes you keep doing something and then realize, hey, why don't I ask AI to do this for me? Literally day before yesterday, I was submitting my expense report for internet and mobile phone usage, like we get the reimbursement. And I used to just go to AT&T and T and download the PDF file, then create expense report and submit. Same with Xfinity, download so many PDF, and just it used to take a lot of time. Then I literally thought yesterday, why don't I just have AI download those PDFs for me? I literally just like tell Claude that, hey, I'm gonna log in for you. Like you just open the web page, I will do the login, I'll keep the credentials. Once you're logged in, it's up to you. You go find where the PDFs exist. You go to this in my laptop in this folder structure. You place it using this naming convention. And when I come back, all this should be done. And literally, I went to pick up my son and came back. All the PDF files, all the bills from AT&T Xfinity were inside my folder. It was amazing. Of course, when I went to LinkedIn to submit it, the workflow, it didn't allow me to connect my cloud agent. But Workday already had a AI skill in there. So previously you used to create expense report, but this time all I had to do is dump that PDF in there. It automatically created the PDF report, the expense report for me. So this is just like a one example I'm giving from day to day. So what this will teach you is, right, when you start using these tools, not only for your work, for your day to day, you will end up saving so much time that will increase your productivity, and you can take that time and spend with your kids or whatever, right? It's up to you, or you can learn more and spend more time. So that's how I'm keeping myself up to date, by being hands on, by listening to different things.
In the end, I like to ask anything else you would like to give our listeners, final, like anything we have not yet covered, which you want to share with the audience listening to
I
you.
think one thing I would say is just don't be scared of AI. I know that's a big question in the room. Is it going to take my job? And I won't say that it's not, it's a wrong question. It's not taking the job, but the person, yes, the person sitting next to you might, right? You have to adapt to AI to upskill yourself, because think in this way, right? If there are two people working on the same problem and one is just coordinating and selecting status and performing XYZ things to execute a program, but there is another person who is doing all of that plus XYZ leadership, right? So in the long run, the person who is doing both or more than one thing, the leadership might want to keep them longer here. But don't, I would say, the final, that moment is also not here. AI is going to take all the jobs and nobody is going to work. Why do we even need to learn? Humans are no longer needed. I think that's a very far-fetched dream. As of today, I don't see those glimpses yet. It might be there 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I don't know. But today it's not there. So you can't think about future that much and give up hope right now, right? You should take this time, upskill yourself, be curious about what is out there, what's new is coming, and be optimistic rather than afraid of these changes. Once you do that, you will see it's not very hard. It's actually, the whole idea is that systems should remove their ambiguity and humans can talk to them in English or whatever language you use to get them to do something for you. So it is actually better than what we used to have in the past, where you have to learn a particular programming language. I started my career learning C, C++, and Java and Python and whatnot, right? You don't have to do any of that. It's pure English. It's prompt engineering is pure English. You just understand. And it's actually not very difficult. So all you need to do is just think within yourself, what work do you do? What of it can AI do for you? And if you don't know the answer, just tell AI, I do all of this. It will actually tell you that, hey, I can do all of this for you, which you're doing. So start slow, learn every day, build those skills. It's not going to happen within a week or a month, but eventually, if you keep giving some time then to it, you will eventually. And don't fall into peer pressure. I know you might have people on your teams who are way far advanced than you in AI. They might have built like XYZ tool, have impressed the leadership, and now you're saying, oh, dude, what do I do with my job? Like this person is going to get, they are doing great. I'm not saying they're not, right? But you can also do the same. But you need to start somewhere. Just start slow, start today, and then you will land. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
That's wonderful. Everybody is in their own infinite journey. Keep learning, keep growing, keep building. Thank you, Ankur. Thank you for sharing all the wisdom today. Appreciate you taking time for this podcast.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Have a great day.
3 things I'm taking away from this conversation. Build your program to survive you being gone, not to depend on you. Give the agent status, but keep judgment to yourself. And guardrails aren't a memo people are supposed to remember. Build them into system. If this landed, share it with the TPM who is still doing status updates instead of judgment call. Find Ankur on LinkedIn if you want to keep the conversation going. Next episode is coming soon. Stay tuned. This is Agentic AI Execution. Until next time, stay curious, keep building, and bring someone along for the ride.